Alright, so this is going to be my intermittent fasting video where I talk about intermittent fasting, or for the purpose of this video, I'm going to be referring to it as IF because saying intermittent fasting over and over is going to just be terrible because it's too many words. So, a lot of people have been curious about it, like why I like it so much and how you actually go about doing it. So there are many different types of IF that you can do. Fasting for different amounts of hours, eating at different times. There are tons of different ways to go about doing IF, but I'm not going to list them all in this video because it'll just be really shitty. So I'm going to post the link that describes every single type of IF at the bottom. So anyway, IF is kind of like a controversial thing, but I mean, there are a lot of rules that people believe about dieting that they're not really set in stone that you have to do it this way, but a lot of people think that, that's the only way to do it. And IF goes against all these rules, so that's why it's kind of like a controversial diet, and a lot of people will think it's bad or something, but I don't know, people with exercise and nutrition, if it's something that's like out of the ordinary or unorthodox, they don't even do the research and they're just like, oh, it's bad, don't do it. And they really just don't even know. So I'm not one of those people that just like says bullshit on Tumblr, because there are so many people that they'll just say anything. They'll just be like, did you know that McDonald's hamburgers contain 7% cat diarrhea? And then people will just be like, oh my god, really? I so knew it. That's so true. So, I'm not one of those people who just like spews bullshit. I read a lot of stuff on this and I actually did it for myself. And with the results for myself and everyone that I know who has done IF, they all think that it's like the most awesome thing ever. So, some of these rules that people really believe about the way to diet is that if you fast, your metabolism's going to slow down and you're going to get fat. The second thing is that the only way to diet correctly is to have 6 to 8 small meals throughout the day, because that magically speeds up your metabolism, and that's the only way to eat. And the other thing is that breakfast is the most important meal, and if you skip breakfast, you're going to get fat and die. So while all these things are kind of true, like they do work for some people, it's not the only way to do it. Like there are plenty of other ways that you can diet where you don't eat every 5 minutes. So let's start with the first thing, eating 6 to 8 small meals a day. A lot of people like to do this because they feel like they're constantly eating and they have meals throughout the day, so they feel more satisfied. But I personally think that 6 to 8 small meals a day really blows, because all of those meals have to be small shit, and I just don't feel like it's satisfying. And after every small meal, it's just, I'm still hungry and I'm just eating like utter bullshit. So really, it doesn't matter if you want to eat 2,000 calories a day. It doesn't matter if you eat 2 really big meals that add up to 2,000 calories, or you eat 10 meals that add up to 2,000 calories. At the end of the day, it just matters how many calories you get into your body. No matter how many meals or how many ways you do it, as long as you're getting those calories, it's all the same thing. Granted, they're from healthy foods. So that, while it works for some people, not the only way to do it. So the second thing is, excuse me cracking my knuckles like a fucking weirdo. The second thing is the fact that your metabolism is going to slow down from going a specific time without eating. In order for your metabolism to slow down, you need to not eat. You need to be like stranded on an island, not eating for several days. I mean, it's not going to happen from a 24-hour fast. People overestimate, like, they have to constantly eat all day. Like, that might be the thing that's making you gain weight, because you're just eating too much. And people eat because they're bored. People eat just because there's food in the house. And it's good to train yourself to realize that if you're not cramming food in your throat every 5 minutes, you're going to survive. You're not going to die. So the last thing, breakfast is the most important meal, and you have to eat breakfast. It is true that breakfast is a really important meal of the day, which is for the reason that In your muscle, there's a chemical called glycogen, and anytime that you go a long period of time without eating, or when you're working out, you're using up that glycogen, and your glycogen is getting depleted. So during a time when you have low glycogen, you're very insulin sensitive. So when you eat carbs and you eat a big meal when you're insulin sensitive, you're more likely to store those calories as muscle rather than fat. So that's why it's really important to have breakfast and have a post-workout meal that contains some sort of carbs, because those carbs are more likely to replenish your glycogen and go to your muscles rather than just sitting on you, making you fat. So the thing that people don't realize is that breakfast isn't just you wake up in the morning, eat, that's your breakfast. The reason why it's called breakfast is because it's breaking the fast vocabulary. So any meal, any time that you are fasting and then you eat your first meal, that's a breakfast because you're breaking your fast. So it's called breakfast in the morning because say we sleep for 8 hours. That's an 8 hour fast right there. And then you wake up and you break your fast, you have your breakfast. But let's say you're fasting and you don't eat until midnight or whatever on your fasting day. That meal at midnight is your breakfast because you're breaking your fast. It has nothing to do with it being in the morning. So technically, you're always going to have a breakfast. But the thing about normal breakfast, that how most people look at breakfast, is that you're eating it in the morning after you sleep. Most people only sleep like 6 to 8 hours. So you're having an 8 hour fast, but if you prolong the fast, you're just becoming even more insulin sensitive. So that way when you eat, it's even better for you because you're more glycogen depleted and you're more insulin sensitive. And also when you're not eating, there's a lot of studies that show that you're releasing GH, which is an important growth hormone, and the more GH you're secreting, the more efficient you are at burning fat and gaining muscle. So from fasting, you can get really lean, but you can also gain a lot of muscle too because of the secretion of GH and because you're becoming more insulin sensitive. So there are a bunch of different ways to do it, and I know a lot of people might think like, ooh, going a long time without eating will make me miserable and I'll cry and hurt people. When you first start doing it, I mean, if you're used to constantly eating, it's going to feel weird and it's going to be hard. But like most things, after you get used to it, you don't even realize you're not eating. It's actually good for you mentally too, because you really start to realize the difference between mental hunger and physiological hunger, because after an entire day of not eating, you're like, wow, this is really hungry. I'm really hungry. Instead of just being bored and sitting on the computer like, oh, I'm going to eat now because I don't have anything to do. So it's really good because it just trains your body better to realize what hunger actually feels like. And then when you do eat, you get full a lot quicker, which is good. So basically, what I was saying before is that if you're really trying to eat 6 to 8 meals a day, it's a pain in the ass. You have to become a slave to Tupperwares, basically, because anywhere you want to go, you have to pack food in little Tupperwares, and you're cooking all day, and then you have to wash a shit ton of dishes, and you're just spending a lot of money on all that food. So I think that eating 6 to 8 small meals a day is a lot of work and it's annoying. So for me and a lot of people that do IF, they feel like such a breath of fresh air to go this specific window without eating, because that's just one whole time period that you don't have to worry about cooking and packing Tupperware, and just like you could just live life and not have to worry about shoving things into your throat. So I think it's awesome. When I'm fasting, I'm just like, you're gonna live my life. I don't have to worry about just eating and packing and cooking. So it's really stress-free. And then when you're done fasting and you are gonna eat, you can eat bigger meals because you didn't eat all day. And I feel like much more satisfied eating a big meal where I get full rather than eating these little small rabbit meals throughout the day, because that's shitty. So, I mean, I'm not saying you have to do this and it might not work for you, but I found that when I started doing it, I got a lot more ripped. I was like super defined and I was still gaining muscle when I was doing this. Um, Another thing is that you should, if you're going to do this, you should buy a branched chain amino acid powder or pill form, and you could just take it during the time that you're not eating to just prevent you from losing muscle. I don't know why I'm like doing this, but whatever. And you could always drink like tons of black coffee, green tea, sweetened with Splenda, anything, any energy drink that's 0 calories. Drink tons of water. So yeah, I just think that it's really good because if you think about it, if you are having a specific period of time where you're not eating, during the week, you're going to be drastically reducing your weekly caloric total. So instead of restricting every single meal, you're automatically cutting down on calories because you're just going certain periods of time without eating. So I don't want you to think that it's like you're just starving yourself, because this should be an organized thing where you know which hours you're not going to eat, which hours you are going to eat, and it's not unhealthy, it's not bad at all. You're not going to turn like really skinny and waste away. Especially because there are many different ways to do it, like I said, but my favorite version of intermittent fasting is called Lean Gains, which is where you fast 16 hours, you go work out fasted, and then right after your workout, you eat your first meal, which is you'll be extremely insulin sensitive because you were just working out and because you went a long time without eating. So all of that food you eat can help you build muscle and you'll be really lean. So that's why it's called Lean Gains. So I really like that version, and I had a lot of good results on that. Um, so I'll leave some links below. You could read some stuff on it, and hopefully you watched this whole thing and thought that it was awesome, and maybe you try it out. And if you do try it out and you have any questions or you love it and you think that it's amazing, let me know. In the future, I also, when I'm dieting, I usually do IF or the anabolic diet, so I'll probably make another video on the anabolic diet. So thanks for watching, bye!